The first time I applied to medical school in the UK, I got rejected. I'm not gonna lie, I filled out my personal statement with so unnecessary things that right now I get cringe vibes when I read that one. When I saw students doing all kind of work experiences, I was like, I wanna do this, I wanna do that. Literally, I wanted to do everything. But to be honest, the medical school admission team doesn't want you to do everything. They don't want you to tick all of the boxes. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you about the work experiences that you can literally arrange by yourself without zero connections, and that's how I did to land you medical school interviews and ultimately a seat in medical school, inshallah. Also, I'm gonna bust some myths which keeps roaming around the internet and you might have also heard from other students, and also how you can turn some non-medical experiences into a medical one, and what if you don't have any kind of hands-on experiences. So before starting, I want to tell you something, two important things. The first one is that if you want to get into a specific medical school, just make sure that you research that medical school properly or talk to any kind of medical students who are already a student in that specific medical school. I want you to condense your application as much as possible. I don't want you to tick all of the boxes. I don't want you to do everything because that's going to overwhelm you. Just make sure you are condensing your options, and that's going to just save you some time. That's it. Also, if you're applying in the UK, just make sure that you always have the GMC rules and regulations handy. Just give them a read whenever you get time, because basically those are the things that all the medical schools kind of focus on. Mentions all of the transferable skills that are needed to get into medical school. So you can check that link out. And again, I just want to make you aware that you don't need quantity based work experiences or anything like that in your application. Make sure that your application is quality enriched rather than quantity. Also, I'll leave another link in the description below that will give you guidance on relevant work experiences. Okay, so the first work experience that you can get, and most of the students, nearly all of the medical students or aspiring medical students talk about it, and yes, you can try gather it by your own, and that is shadowing. You can shadow a GP, you can shadow a consultant, you can shadow a surgeon, you can shadow a paramedic, but what I wanted to do is start with the simplest one, and that is with the GP. GP is the general practitioner in the UK, so it's like the go-to place if you get sick. Now, how you can get shadowing through GP is basically you can go and talk in person them that you want some shadowing experience, you are an aspiring medical student. They will instantly understand what you're talking about, so based on that they will tell you whether you can do that or not. Since COVID-19, it has become slightly more difficult to get some shadowing experiences, but hey, you can just try and talk to them. Also, other than that, if you are introvert and you don't want to go in person and talk to them, just send them an email. Okay, also I will leave a link in the description below, and that's a website link that gives you guidance on how to write an email to your doctor so that you can get some shadowing. So yeah, that website is really helpful. I saved that link, I don't know how many years ago, but yeah, I just found that, so I thought you might find it helpful. Other than that, or you can call the GP receptionist and ask them if they allow for GP shadowing. Unfortunately, they don't always allow for shadowing, but hey, just don't be sad, just go and try yourself, it's fine. But I'm just saying from my experience that not always they do allow for shadowing. The best thing to do is just go in person and talk to them, because if you email them, they might not get back to you on time. Or some people, yeah, they can get back to you on time. So yes, that's something you can talk about in your personal statement. At that moment, you have to make sure that you understand about patient confidentiality, and the most crucial part is what you are actually gaining from the experience, because the most crucial part is to write about something you have learned from your shadowing in your personal statement, or that is something worth talking about in your interviews. Don't write just that I have shadowed this GP for 200 hours. That's not gonna take you anywhere. In the UK, to be honest, no one really cares how many hours you have shadowed or you have volunteered. It seems really exaggerating. You have done 200, 300 hours, you don't need to mention that. Your quality of experience will literally speak for yourself. It's basically in the US where there is a specific time you need to mention that how many hours of volunteering or shadowing you have done. In the UK, there is no such limit. The way you are presenting it actually shows how much dedicated you are to that profession. And now, what if you don't get a shadowing in the GP? The next step is to email the hospitals. State or the place where you are, there will always be a university hospital. So I used to be at UHCW, so around that area, Coventry and Warwickshire. You won't imagine what I did. I literally made lists of the specialties and the consultants that are present in UHCW, like their line numbers. Every specialty or department has their own line numbers in the hospitals. I collected their emails and I started emailing them. Consultants personally didn't reply me because come on, they are consultants. It's understandable. But yes, the phone calls did help. Yes, At some point I felt that they were really irritated by the number of times I was calling them. To get somewhere, you need to be slightly shameless. You cannot take things personally all the time, especially when you have zero connections. You just need to start somewhere and you have to do it by yourself. If they are getting irritated, just make sure you just get your job done and leave. If I find the notes of the numbers I have collected somewhere in my computer, I'll just post the screenshot in the screen. You can see them and ask them if you can shadow any consultant or any specialist. See what they say. But what I can feel is that you might have to pay a certain amount of money that you can shadow them. That is the email that usually comes from HR. To be honest, at some point even the specialists would be ready to give you a chance, but it's the specific rules and regulations of the specific department. They have so many rules. If you land an opportunity, amazing. Okay, take that, grab that. But if you don't, it's completely okay, because now what we are going to talk about is something that most of the students don't really want to do. They actually underestimate this thing a lot, but I found that profoundly helpful. And that also comes under the next topic, which is volunteering. You can do volunteerings. It's not like either volunteering or shadowing. You can do both, or you can choose either of them. It's up to you, to be honest, how much time you get to get the experiences. Yeah, I did both, kind of. I'm gonna tell you how, because I didn't land any shadowing from my GP or hospital. So how did I get some shadowing? Let me tell you. This is from hospices. Inpatient volunteer in one of the hospices in the UK. That's where I got some really amazing experiences about the MDT, the multidisciplinary team. And guess what? I got to sit with them, literally with the MDT in that room, a room full of medical students. And I introduced myself over there and I was trembling. Okay, so room full of medical students. There were nurses, there were doctors, obviously, occupational therapists, physiotherapists. It's a hospice. There are like multiple wide range of healthcare professionals, and I got to sit in between them. I was with them like for 2 hours. I really heard everything. They were talking about the patients, their families, what to do, what to change, what medication to change, everything. You never know what's gonna come up, so you always have to just take a chance, just have to do it. So never actually understood that hospice would give me some amazing experiences. It's not always about the fancy words, shadowing a consultant, shadowing a surgeon. It's not always about that. A tiny bit of experience, even for a couple of hours, can change your life. So yes, try hospices. Again, email them, call them. Hospices do always look for volunteers. Apply to them. Just give a couple of hours a week, even an hour a week. I used to do 1 or 2 hours a week, I guess, every Saturday. All right, so under the volunteering, what else you can do? You can volunteer for specific organizations like British Red Cross, St. John Ambulance, and others. Did volunteer for St. John Ambulance, and I am still a volunteer, but I'm not quite active. Yes, I volunteered for like 3 years, and I was a first aid volunteer at St. John Ambulance. So basically, for if you're under 18, then there are specific rules for you, but if you're over 18, you are fine. So yes, I have been to several events and some amazing people I have met. So how you can do that? You can go to their website, you can apply for being a volunteer, or you can just contact them on social media or anything like that, and they will reply you always. And you can sit for the interviews, and then yes, you have to complete some trainings, pass your course, and then you are good to go. So there are several kinds of volunteers in St. John Ambulance or any other organizations like that. You can be a community first aider, you can be a first aider who can go to events, lots of other things. To be honest, I forgot all of the other roles. And you can write tons of things in your personal statement and talk about in your interviews on those experiences. You can always turn those experiences related to medicine, because that shows empathy, teamwork, leadership, resilience, etc. How you write about experiences in your personal statement and how you talk about them in your interviews matters the most. And again, you don't need countless numbers of work experience time. You don't have to do 200, 300 hours. If you can do them, if you have enough time in your hands, it's absolutely fine. And I guess I have nearly volunteered, 100 to 200 hours. And this is something I have done while being a full-time student. Yes, and also having a part-time work. Yes, that is something I have talked about in one of my videos. If you want to watch that, you can click the I button over there. Other things that comes under volunteerings, but not exactly under volunteerings, but there are certain experiences you can achieve from them, and also absolutely talk about those in your personal statement, is something related to the community volunteerings, like running a marathon, food banks, raising funds, etc. This doesn't allow you to exactly get medical experiences, because it's not only about medical experiences. There are lots of things going on in medicine. This will allow you to learn about communities, what's going on in the communities is going on that you could be raising money for, allows you to create social awareness. So that is really important in medicine. That's something you can talk about in your personal statement and in your interview. So you see, you can always turn around these things and turn them into a medical work experience. So it's about the experience you gain and how you turn them around towards medicine, how that's going to help you in medicine. Why do you think that is important in medicine? The next thing, if you're under 18, you might not be able to, because this is really important even if you're above 18, which is research experience. You can be a research volunteer, and yes, I think you might have to be above 18, but research experience or research volunteering is so crucial, because medicine, yes, it lives on advancements, research and everything is crucial. So being a research volunteer and writing about those experiences in your personal statement, the top-notch thing. If you can gather one of those, that's absolutely fine. It's not a necessity, but if you can gather, it's fine. The next thing you can do to get some hands-on experiences or medical experiences, it's paid work. So basically, I used to work as a care worker. I did work for 3 years. I guess my 70 to 80% of the things that I have written in personal statement was from volunteering and from my paid work. Because during my paid work, I was literally communicating with patients, their medicine management, safeguarding, mental health, everything, talking to them, talking to their family, talking to the company, everything, reading their care plans, understanding patient confidentiality. So yes, most of my things that I have written in my personal statement was from my paid work and from my volunteerings, and also some from the MDT and shadowing. I'm not telling this so that you can write these specific things in your personal statement. There is no hard and fast rules, but I'm just giving examples how you can write it or what you can write about, and something that you can arrange literally by yourself. No one has to help you. And slowly you will develop networking, but at the very first, zero connections and all of these things is amazing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a care related work. It can be anything, working in the lab, working in the hospitals, anything. Just being in an environment where you can learn about patients and the healthcare professionals, not just doctors, other healthcare professionals, but yes, particularly doctors. The next work experience, or I would say experience that would help you, is academic enrichment. Now, what do I mean by that? I applied as a graduate. I have a degree in biomedical science. That means I have completed a thesis, or I have written a dissertation before completing my graduation, and that's what allowed me to get my degree. So dissertation is something just like a piece of paper you have to write in your third or fourth year of your uni. You have to do some research. It can be lab based, depending on the degree you are doing. It can be lab based, it can be a dry project where you have to go through data and everything, but it's not lab based. My dissertation was lab based, and I was in the lab like 5 days a week for like 4 weeks to collect our data. We have to read articles, papers, and then present our paper. I have an experience of writing papers, going through articles, reading them, collecting data, analyzing them. So that is something you can talk about in your personal statement. But let me remind you, you cannot write everything in your personal statement. Why? In the UK, the personal statement is of 4,000 characters, nearly roughly 600 to 700 words. That's what you can write. That means you cannot write about everything. So that means you don't have to tick all of the boxes. But this is something you have to decide always what you want to write about in your personal statement, what will stand out. So academic enrichment and writing about your research articles is something you can do if you're applying as a graduate. Then online courses. During COVID, Allison and Coursera was on top. So everyone was doing some kind of online courses. I did, but I didn't write about those in my personal statement because I had other heavy things to include, my shadowing, my volunteerings. But yes, if you don't have enough experiences, hands-on experiences, you can always write about the online courses, online medical courses you might have done. You just have to know what to write and what will actually make them understand that you are really interested in this profession. Then this thing most of the medical students do mention is that reading medical journals or medical books or listening to medical podcasts. I will mention some books in the description below. If you want to buy them, you can get them. But other than that, one of my favorite book is Do No Harm by Henry Marsh. I guess he's a British surgeon or something. Real raw experience of being a surgeon. I was really afraid of medicine when I was reading that book. But other than that, there are other medical books you can read about. I'd find them in the description below if you want to read them. You don't have to read all of them. Come on, please don't. Just to get insights of how a medical student life is or how doctor's life is, just to get insights. And on top of that, you can mention quotes from this book in your personal statement. I don't remember if I have even any quote from that book, Do No Harm. Yes, in one of my draft personal statement, I did mention something, so I just can't remember if I did publish in the final personal statement or not. But yes, you can always do it. It actually shows that you are reading about medical students, about doctor's life, about health, everything. And also the same goes for medical podcasts or journals. You can always give quotes from journals, from medical podcasts. You can just write in a personal statement that once I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about this new invention or new discovery in healthcare. It actually intrigued me. So that's how you quote any kind of podcast, any kind of medical books or journals, etc. Let's talk about non-medical. Now, why am I talking about non-medical? Because again, you can always turn around your experiences towards medicine. If you work in retail, you have to deal with immense number of customers, talking to them, and if you're an introvert on top of them, that's a real issue. Okay, you have to learn how to talk to people, how to communicate, etc. Okay, how to guide them, how to solve problems, how to teamwork. All of these things are needed in medicine. And you won't believe what I did. I wrote about my YouTube channel in my personal state. This doesn't come under medicine, okay? This is completely non-medical. I don't know how I did that. I have to reread my personal statement again because YouTube is something, I don't know if I should say passion or hobby or something like that, but I enjoy doing it. Medical school admission team doesn't want you to be in front of your textbooks 24/7. They don't want it. They want you to have a separate life. They want you to have your personal life, your social life, etc., your hobbies, to be active, everything. So this thing, my YouTube, shows that I just don't want to study all the time. I want to do other things which actually makes me happy. Now, you don't have to open a YouTube channel by yourself. The next thing I want to talk about is really important, and if you are taking work experiences but you don't have this thing, it won't make any difference, and that is keeping a diary, a reflective diary. I will leave a link in the description below. Work experience reflective diary is from Medical School Council website, so you can just read that. And I always had a diary with me. I still remember I was in the bus returning from my hospice, and then I was literally writing in the bus what experiences or what I got to see today in the hospice. When you are writing your personal statement, or when you're preparing for your interview, you can always just go back to your diary and just reread it, and you can talk about certain scenarios or certain incidents. So that's the importance of reflective diary, because at the end of the day, you're gonna forget what you learned. Crucial that you write it down whenever you witness it. Okay, so now busting some myths. These myths keep roaming around on the internet. Students do talk about it, so I do have some questions written over here. Let me just answer them. The first one is, work experience in the NHS is must needed to get into medical school. No, work experience just in the NHS is not a must. It is not a requirement. If you have it, good, solid. Other than that, even outside the NHS, there are many organizations which offers meaningful opportunities, and please try to grab them. All right, the next one is, you must have to shadow a doctor. Again, no. If you have shadowed or want to, amazing. But if somehow you can't, it's really okay, because other experiences are meaningful too. The next one is, to get into medical school, your experience should be clinical. No. Yes, it does matter, but it isn't 100% clinical. Any experience that involves working with people, helping them out, hospitality, community, volunteering, all this counts, okay? The next one is, you need hundreds of hours of work experience. As far as I know about the UK medical schools, no, you don't. In the US, yes, there might be specific things. Unless you're applying in the US, then you are fine. Okay? All right, the more extracurriculars you list, the better. No, as I have said, there are 4,000 characters, roughly 600 to 700 words in your personal statement, so you don't have time to write about all the transferable skills. So the next one is, only science related extracurriculars count. No, not really. It's not only science related extracurriculars, it could be others. Like I just talked about my YouTube content creation, okay? The thing is that, what if you don't have any hands-on experience? What can you do at that time? There is something called virtual work experience, which got really famous recently, like in last couple of years, and since COVID-19, to be honest. There are two websites that I want to suggest. One is from Brighton and Sussex Medical School, and the other one is GP Work Experience, which is from RCGP website. So these are the two that I have done. I guess I didn't completed the first one. If you want to do some virtual work experience, if you think that your other hands-on experiences are not very good, then you can always do virtual work experience and talk about that. But the best one is to do hands-on experience, because that gives you much wide range of hands-on experience, to be honest. Okay, at the end, some reassuring messages. Always use your networks. Now, if you don't have any networks, you'll slowly develop. If you go to uni, you'll get friends. The next thing is that LinkedIn should be your new Instagram. LinkedIn has loads of opportunities. You can always grab one. So just send them a message on LinkedIn and like, oh, you want to get some experiences, you are doing these, you are aspiring medical student, could you get some chance to do that? And at the same time, ChatGPT and Claude is always there. Take their help, write cold email, get cold email templates, just send them a message. That's fine. Always utilize the kind of elements you have around you, your family members who can gather you some networks. Most important thing is that it's not important what you do, it's important how you present what you have done. Also, if you want a video on how to write the perfect medical school personal statement, just let me know in the comment below. I will try to make one, inshallah. If you enjoyed this video, just make sure you hit the thumbs up button, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that helps me to grow. And if you want any more new videos, just make sure you are leaving those in the comments below. Let me know how you found this video. Share this with your friends or aspiring medical students. I'll see you inshallah in the next video. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.